Hello, good evening, Matilde. How are you?
Hello, good evening. I'm good, thank you.
Great, that's great to know. Let's start, please, with today's class. Yesterday, we got to cover 2 lessons that we need to apply now, right? We were taking a look at phrasal verbs, inseparable phrasal verbs. We practiced with some of them, and gerunds and infinitives in a certain way, right? Knowing that we can use these specific forms of verbs as subjects after some verbs, and in the case of gerunds, after all prepositions, and in the case of infinitives, it can be with other pronouns over there or nouns, or even with purpose, right? To show purpose for an action that you're doing. So taking that into account, we said that today we have to apply that knowledge in writing something and using that. So I'm going to the document. Try to do the same, please, with me. And we're going to see what the last elements we were working on are. Sorry, perhaps my computer is a little bit slow now,
It's
but it
okay, I
should be
think.
good now. All right. Now, so you were working on the second and so on. All right. So we are missing the conclusion for this one, okay, for this essay about traveling with friends or alone. And you had some moments. No, this is about the past to use these transitional words. Okay, so I'm just reviewing everything we were doing. Um, so let's do the following, please. Again, today, trying to apply this. First, let's focus on the content that we have to apply, and then we're going to finish this essay with the conclusion. But then the first is not going to be related to this. It is going to be related to a different topic. So we're talking about phrasal verbs, and we're talking about gerunds and infinitives. There are many ways to use it. If you go to the presentation, I'm going to try to do it myself. And give me a second. I'm going to send the link once again, or I don't know if you still have the link I sent yesterday to see all the verbs that you can use, right, with gerunds and infinitives. But
Let
I'm
me
here,
check.
so I'm sending the link.
Okay.
So there you go. Okay, good. Now, going there and having that list, let's try to write we're talking about that. Okay, yes, we're going to write 2 paragraphs. Okay, they can be short 2 paragraphs. I'm thinking of the differences between gerunds and infinitives. And you're going to compare 2 things, but at the same time as you're comparing those 2 things, you're going to be using 2 different grammatical resources. It means that to mention the characteristics of the first thing you are going to compare in the first paragraph, you are only going to use gerunds. Okay, you're going to try to look for ways to use the gerunds. It can be a subject, it can be with all those verbs that you can use over there, it can be with prepositions. All right, of course, it's going to be unavoidable that we use infinitive as well or base form, so you can use 1 or 2 over there. But most of the structure, most of the things that you're saying about the first element you're going to compare are going to be with gerunds. All right, and at the same time, please, we're going to try to include, we also have this in the presentation in the first lesson. If we go to the first unit, first lesson, you have phrasal verbs, right? In separate, no, sorry, we are not. I'm just thinking that this is, or this was the first class. It was the 6th lesson. All right, no, actually, this is the first, second, third, the 4th. Okay, so it means it's the first lesson of the second unit. If you go to the first lesson of the second unit, you're going to find this presentation, inseparable phrasal verbs. You have a list over there. So we're going to try to use from 2 to 3 phrasal verbs per paragraph. okay, for the first one and for the second. Again, perhaps it can be a little bit tricky because it's hard to fit all that information just to paragraphs, but let's do the best we can. All right, so one more
Yeah.
time, all in all, two paragraphs to compare two things that you want to compare, anything. The first paragraph is going to be with gerunds, only gerunds. The second paragraph with infinitive, only infinitives. And we are going to use two up to three phrasal verbs per paragraph as well, and they have to be inseparable phrasal verbs from the list that you have on the presentation, or you can also look for other alternatives online. But that's it. I don't know if you have questions about that, Matilde, so that we can have the time to do it. Let me know, please.
Okay, so I think I got it, but it could be any subject, right? Because I'm comparing things, so it's not related with the previous essay I
Correct.
made.
Something different to try to use different vocabulary over there. So yes, try to think of two things. Again, it can be two different brands, right? I don't know, you can talk about cell phones, TV, or places, or subjects, right? Anything that comes to your mind is valid. All right. And you can comparison in the sense that you're going to describe the characteristics of those two elements, the first paragraph for the first element, and you're mainly going to show, all right, those characteristics. Perhaps you're not going to contrast. Mainly, it's going to be just to show what those two elements are about in two different paragraphs. Okay, but if you want, of course, you can contrast, you can compare. If you get to how to structure something like this, then it's perfect. All right, so let's do it, please. I'm going to work with the clock. All right, so please, we are going to have up to 8 minutes. Okay, let's have 8 minutes to try to structure those two paragraphs. But let me know if you're ready. Let me know if you have the list of verbs, if you have the presentations for the phrasal verbs and everything ready so that you can work immediately. Let me know, please.
Yeah, I'm open. I think I've opened the both of the documents, but where should I write in the yeah, after the
Are you
essays?
looking for the phrasal verbs presentation?
No, I was talking about the classwork document. I just start a new.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, it should be this one. I mean, let me see if you're here with me. Yes,
I'm there.
and go below. You can work, yes, in a new one. Over there, it's good.
Okay, good. All right.
Great. So I'm going to start the timer, please. And in 8 minutes, we check what you got. All right. So see you then.
Okay.
Okay, so we are with 8 minutes. Let's take a look at what you got so far. If you're missing some details, we're going to try to finish that together. Okay, so I'm here with you.
Yeah, I just did the first paragraph. It was harder than I thought, trying to
Yeah,
do the just gerunds and with phrasal
yes,
verbs.
it's
Yeah.
let's read that one. Let's read that one because
Okay.
it's very difficult as you have to be picky, right? You cannot use
Yeah.
any verb, you cannot use any conjugation, and the well, it has to make sense, right? So the connection cannot be with any idea. So it is complicated. All right, I wanted to set that parameter, but again, that's why we have this idea of what we can get. So let's read the first one, please. That is for the one you got.
Okay. Swimming is the most gentle sport there is. If you're concerned about injuries, swimming might be the best option for you. Exercising is essential for our health. And if you're not a great athlete like me, you should look into this possibility. I can't put up with having extreme routines. I really like having the time to catch up my breath.
All right, thank you very much. Good. I believe it's great. In most of the cases, we used like the first possibility of using gerunds, right? That is, well, at least taking a look at two. The first two elements were subjects, right? So swimming is and swimming might. So I'm going to be marking those because everything else I think it's perfect. All right, and actually everything is good. I'm just going to mark this the gerunds that we're using. So this is the first idea, and we're using gerund as subject. This is the second part. This is a conditional, right? And the second part of the conditional is also gerund as subject, and we're using swimming again, which is good. Exercising, right? So this is the third one. We have that one is essential for your health, right? And if you great, you're using comma because of the beginning of this one. Um, and actually, this depends, right? And if you want to set this as not something extra, but as not the main characteristic of your sentence, it can be with a comma, right? If not, and if is at the beginning, we don't need to use that comma. All right, so this is going to be optional. It can be there, but not as a necessity, only if, again, you consider this as extra element to the explanation. That is, you should look into this possibility. So, okay, so this is, in this case, more than a conditional. This has the form of a conditional, but in between commas, this is like a parenthetical phrase or a parenthetical explanation before this one. Okay, so we're good. And I can put out with having. This is the third case, gerunds after prepositions, right? I can put out with
Yeah.
screen routines. And I really, so here, my only observation would be here, I believe. I can put up with having stream and rounds. I really like. So even though the connection is very right strong, as they are two complete sentences, and they are going to be separated, right? And this is the third one, which is the second type. After some verbs, but we know that like is not special for gerunds, but we can use it with gerunds as well as with infinitives. So good. Now, let's try to work on something else besides this to first reinforce the idea of gerunds. And mainly what I want to work with is the verbs after which we can use gerunds. All right, that's what I want to work with just a little bit because just memorizing or practicing this a little bit. So I'm going there. I'm here. All right, so after all these verbs, the activity that we are going to mention, we can use anything we want, right? We can use nouns, pronouns, objects in general. But in this case, we are going to be using activities that are going to be gerunds, of course. So let's start with acknowledge, right? What is acknowledge? Let's read, please, Matilda, the definition plus the example that we have there.
Acknowledge to recognize what someone has done. She acknowledges he's working hard on the project.
Great. Now, what example can you give me using this? Acknowledge plus gerund.
Okay. I recently acknowledged that
And in this case, remember, just because of the rule, because I know that this is going to be correct, but let's use a gerund after acknowledge to make it correct or to make it practice with gerunds.
Okay. I recently acknowledged that I recently acknowledged that paying taxes is hard.
Yes, the sentence is good, but the rule is different because you're using their paying taxes as the subject of the second clause. But the meaning, the reason is not because of acknowledge in that case. To make it a condition with acknowledge, it has to be right next to acknowledge. And in this case, as you have to recognize someone else's activity, you can use this structure that is interesting. Possessive plus gerund. Okay, when you say, for example, I acknowledge you're working hard, right, in class like this one, or a different one, right? He acknowledges her what could it be? Her going to his place every weekend, right? It sounds weird, her going to his place every weekend, but it is correct. It is a structure possessive plus gerund that is used when you need to mention someone else with the gerund. But you cannot place that or any other connector there because we are going to break the rule and you can use gerund, but the purpose of that gerund is going to be a different one. And it's not going to be because you have acknowledge. All right, so with that logic, what example can you give me?
Okay, so I acknowledge her I acknowledge her great cooking.
It is good, but we need the gerund over there. Her great cooking. It there. It's more than an activity. It's like yes, it's the ability that you're describing, but we need something else. Perhaps her. No, actually, yes, because cooking can be used in many ways, and in this case, it's used as a verb. So yes, I was getting confused. You're right. Her great cooking. You're using another verb or words to describe that verb, but in this case, that word is working as an activity. So you're right. It is correct. Good. That's then with acknowledge. Let's work with now advice. All right, advice as a verb. It's very simple, right? To give advice. And it says, I advise saving a little money every month. So what can you say in this case? Also using the gerund.
I advise I advise cleaning your house every weekend.
Okay, great. Very good. I'm going to try to look now for a word that perhaps can be. Okay, this is interesting. Dread, right? Let's read please the definition and the example over
Okay, to fear doing or experiencing, I dread taking tests.
there. Great. So, one example, please, using dread.
Um, I dread dread climbing high mountains.
Okay, yes, anything that causes you fear, right, can be used with dread. And again, the logic here mainly is gerunds, but we're taking advantage because these are interesting verbs that are worth knowing and knowing how to use them mainly. Okay, so good. Dread. We know that now after dread, we have to use gerund. Also with fancy, right? Fancy is very interesting. To like very much, right? They fancy eating donuts. So, what do you fancy, or what example can you give me with this?
Um, they fancy spending money in silly things.
Okay, good. One more time, please. The first. Oh, let's repeat everything, please. I couldn't get the
They
first part.
fancy spending money
Okay,
in silly things. Yeah.
good. Perfect. Thank you very much. Great. We are good with that. I don't see an interesting one. Okay, this. Shirk. Okay, shirk. Let's read, please, the definition and the example.
Okay. To not do something you should do. Done shirked paying for the children's meal.
Good. So, what do you say? Anything that comes to your mind, please, with this one.
Okay. Mm, she shirk drinking her pills.
Yes, good. Anything that is advisable or a necessity, right, but is not done because of a certain reason, it's something that you can relate to this verb, right? So, yeah, that's good. One more. If I don't see anything interesting over here, yes, we know those ones. So let's also this one. This is the last one I think that it's interesting. Shun. To avoid contact with. And the example, right? Don't shun spending time with those you don't know very well. So the last example, please, with Jared's. What can you tell me with this?
Okay. Mm, I'm trying to choose another verb than spending, but I don't think.
Yeah, some of the verbs are very picky with the words they can work with.
Mm.
In this case, Shan, it's almost related to spending time. So you can use that one as well.
Okay. So don't shun spending time with your beloved ones.
Yes. Again, in some cases, they require very specific structures to work correctly. They are showing that this has to be used with gerunds, but I cannot imagine a lot of examples with this one in this case. All right, so it's correct. Okay, good. Now, and again, to avoid contact with, so yes, it can be also sometimes affirmative, right? Sean, spending time with those you don't know very well, to avoid the contact in that case. So it depends, right, on the meaning you want to give. It has to be in this
Yeah.
case a little bit negative, right? It's the negative of something that you are avoiding. All right. Now let's stop there. We're going to go back to this web page, but first let's work now on the paragraph that you couldn't work on, that is the infinitive. Okay, so
Yep.
let's go back please to the where is it? It's over here. Let's go back to your paragraph, but something that I didn't check yet. Sorry, I was not paying attention to the. I remember one, and that is this one, right? To put up with. This is the phrasal verb that we got and look into. Okay, very good. I believe that those are the two that you used, right? Is there any other one, Matilde?
Mm, catch up?
Yes, you're right. There you go. That one as well. And concerned about, no, this is not a phrasal verb.
Mm.
Yes, good. Three, right? We said two, three, so we are great. So with that, let's go, please. Let's work the second paragraph, in this case with infinitives, and let's try to look for a balance. You can work one with, as we have four types, right, of infinitives. I know it's going to be, again, perhaps a little bit difficult to connect all those ideas, but actually, let's skip the one that works with subject. Okay, don't use the infinitive as subject because we said it's pretty weird. Let's start
Mhm.
using infinitive after verbs, okay, after some verbs. Infinitive in the third type, if you remember, with other people that you are commanding something to. For example, I need you to help me with this. All right, so this helps you do this, or to do this in this case, infinitive. If it's possible, see if you can use that in the context, or you can work with indirect speech. Try to look for a way. And the last one would be purpose. All right, and then you can repeat one of those. But that's it. Let's work, please, with that.
Okay.
Let's have some minutes, 4 to 5 tops, and we check.
Okay.
Good. So here we go. Okay, so we're going to see how it went, and we can then work with our conclusion for that essay we were working on.
Okay.
Let me see. Okay, so I'm here with you now. Let's read, please, Matt.
Okay, sorry, there's this thing. Okay, so if you like a more intensive workout, you just need to work out harder and increase the hours of training. You should go in your own rhythm. You are not expected to go crazy fast at the beginning. You have to practice for a long time in order to become better. Thus, get off the bed and start exercising.
Thank you very much. Good. Great. Now let's analyze what we are using here, right? So you need to work out. That's also right, a phrasal verb. So we have an infinitive and at the same time a phrasal verb, right? To work out can be a phrasal verb. And it is, of course. And increase the hours of training, great. You should go right at your own pace or in your own rhythm. You're not expected to go right after another verb. Good. At the beginning, you have to practice. This is another one. All right. In order to become great. And this is even with the purpose and the complete idea, right? In order to something, to become. Get off and start exercising. All right, very good. We're missing one, I believe, but it's the one that it's hard to get. You are not expected to go. Yes, because we need another subject right over there, not a subject, a pronoun or a noun, but it's not, I mean, expectable to see that as part of a paragraph because it's something one-on-one communication. But let's see if you remember. How can you use the type that we're not using here, Matthew? The one in which you are mentioning someone before the infinitive. You can use that with need, with expect, right? Or with require, something related to an order or to make someone do something for you. But what do you say? What examples can you give me with that?
Like, I need you to start swimming.
Yes, that's one. Very good. Just one more, please. It can be again with persuade, with expect.
Okay, so she expects um, she expects her to be more professional.
Okay. Yes, there you go. Right. So you have it again. It's not something that we can include in a paragraph like the one we were working on. So that's why we didn't need to use that one. But we got it. So that's great. Again, we're reinforcing. Now let's take a look here at some interesting verbs related to well, to infinitive. Let's start with a simple one, attempt, right? To try. So don't attempt to say something. So what example can you give me using attempt and infinitive?
Okay. She attempted to fix her own computer.
Okay, good. You can give an outcome to that, right? But it was not possible or
Yep.
something happened, right? So good. There you go. Now we know this claim. Okay. But we know that one there. All right. Yes, most of them are common ones. Endeavor. Okay, this one, the same meaning, but an interesting word. Endeavor. So, you read, please. Read the example for endeavor.
Okay. Endeavor to try. The company endeavors to provide the best possible service.
There you go, right? It's a simple one because of the meaning, but it's interesting to use it. So what example can you give me with this one? Tilde plus infinitive.
Okay. I endeavor to change my bad habits.
Okay, yes, very good. There you go. One would endeavor, guarantee, hesitate. Yes, I mean, yeah, if you compare perhaps the verbs, well, we have an interesting over here. But actually, it depends, right? This is not like the most complete list of verbs that you use with gerunds and infinitives that you can get. But as I mentioned before, it's a decent one, and it's a lot. Okay, this is not a small number, let's say. So we have interesting verbs. It's up to you, right? The idea is not memorizing everything. That's not the way we have to work with English, but it's just for you to try to see what words you use, right? Or you can use to start adopting them and to, well, right, to get to know if you use that with infinitive or gerund. Now, just two more, all right? Two more. I think I skipped some of them. No, yeah, neglect. This is a good one, right? It's also very common, but neglect, please. Let's read the definition, the example, and you give me one example yourself, please.
Okay. To not do something you should do. The man neglected to give me all the information. Okay, so the state neglect its citizens in every chance. I think.
All right, and in that one, I believe you need one action over there.
Yeah.
Right, because that's going to be the connector with this one. So what do you say? Something is missing.
Yeah. Okay. So the state neglects to give their citizens good care.
Yeah, it's valid. Good. When you don't give, again, write something that you should, right? And you can neglect to give something, you can neglect to educate, you can neglect to inform, right? To report or anything that is part of your obligations, all right? As part of anything, right? Of your family, of your company, of state, the government, and so on and so forth. So good. Neglect, right? And just one more, as I said. Let's see if we have something interesting here. Shudder, that's a good one. But struggle, but that's common. Tent, also common. So, okay. We know. I know. How often have you used yearn, Matilde? Have you used this one before?
I heard it, but I think I didn't use it.
Okay, so look, right, the meaning is very simple. So let's use this one, please. Read the word, the definition, the example, and then you give me one, please.
Okay. Yearn to desire very strongly. I yearn to finish work today. I yearn to have my vacation soon.
Yes, there you go. Good. Again, right, this was a little bit repetitive, but it's just to show these words. And again, now I give this to you, and you work in the way you believe right is better for you to start getting familiar to these words. All right. With me, those two lessons now are completely done. I mean, phrasal verbs that we didn't need to practice because we already did, and infinitive and gerunds. I don't know if you have questions, so that in these last minutes we can go and finish the conclusion for our essay. You can read your essay first, right, and write the better conclusion for that one. So what do you say? Any questions or comments before going to the last practice?
No, I don't think so. It's okay.
Okay, good. So please, you were talking about traveling with friends is better than traveling alone. You had your introduction and two body paragraphs that, well, were supporting this decision, right? Now, you are supposed to work on the conclusion. We're going to have 5 minutes. So please, in these 5 minutes, work on that conclusion. And if you still have some extra time, you can check and make some changes because that's going to be the end of this first essay that we got. And we're going to try to go back to the first one we were working on that we couldn't finish to work also that one. And we're going to try to compare, okay, side to side, paragraph by paragraph. And we're going to identify the main differences between a formal essay and one that is more personal. All right, so let's do it, please. Let's have 5 minutes. Let's finish that conclusion. Let's check everything in general. And with that, we finish today. Let's do it, please, Matilde.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm here. We have those 5 minutes. Let's see once again what we got to finish with that essay and go back to our argumentative and formal essay afterwards. Let's read first only your conclusion, please, Emma.
Okay, in conclusion, if you travel with friends, you will have more benefits than traveling alone. You will end up saving more money, feeling more secure, and having the best time with your friends. When the trip finishes, the story, that should be plural. The stories won't end with you. All your friends will talk about it for ages. That's one of the best parts of traveling in a group, I think. In a group, yeah. Talking about it feels like traveling again.
Okay, thank you very much. Great. All right. Again, everything is connected. We are summarizing, going back to our main idea, right, to reinforce the knowledge of well, traveling with friends. So, I believe I only saw one detail. No, I believe it's good. The one you mentioned, that can be right. Of course, that can be there in singular. It's going to be correct, but you want to make it plural, right? The stories you were saying, then all the friends, will talk about it. Yes, yes. Here, perhaps this is like something you're complementing, but again, as it is a new complete idea, right? All your friends will talk about it for ages, then that's right one of the best parts of traveling. So it's a new idea, right? Of course, it's related to the previous one, but it's a complete idea, right? So with a semicolon or period, that's one of the best parts of traveling in a group, as you were saying, right? And then, okay, talking about it, it feels like traveling again. So here, actually, this is a new one as well, right? So you're saying that's one of the best parts of traveling in a group. Talking about it feels like, so this is the subject, right? Talking about it is the subject, feels like, then that's the verb, and traveling again. So again, here, this is your decision. It's not weird to place two semicolons, right? One after another, but you can decide if you want to keep it with two semicolons, or you can place, for example, right, one period over there and one semicolon over here. There's still connection, of course. You're not changing anything, but it depends what you want to show. All right, I'm just showing possibilities. You decide what's the punctuation mark that you want to use over there. That's it. Now, I don't know if you have questions about anything before finishing a activity. Again, from tomorrow, we're going to go back. I believe that we have the starting point for, yes, you were talking about one topic before, right? Vegetarianism. But we have the introduction also. I don't know if you remember about the one that you were working with the introduction, Matilde. I think it was this topic as well, right? With the other structure that we had.
Um, I'm not sure. I think it was a different topic, but I'm not sure anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't worry. As we have the structure and we know how we can structure the introduction, we also have the elements to do it. We're going to see that again. If we don't find, because we still have the previous right elements, if we don't find the introduction for this one, we're going to write one to try to complement the second paragraph then, and then the conclusion. And this, remember, this has a different structure because it's a little bit more formal. But that's it. If there are no questions or comments, let me know, please. We're going to be finishing the class, and I'm sending two surveys, please, today. This is the fourth class, so I'm sending the daily survey first, and then you have the midterm related to the satisfaction survey. All right, and this is um, okay, this is the midterm, the satisfaction one. So I hope you have a good night, and I'll see you then tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. See you tomorrow.
Bye bye. Good night.
Bye.